Hello Cloud Experts. Welcome to another one hands-on working session. Today we'll demonstrate the step-by-step process to install Amazon CloudWatch agent on an Windows EC2 instance. In today's session, we'll discuss from prerequisites to all necessary configurations for Amazon CloudWatch agent on an Windows operating system. If you will follow today's session without skipping any content, you will be able to configure Amazon CloudWatch agent for your personal or organizational use cases. If you have a requirement to install Amazon CloudWatch agent on an Linux operating system, then I have a separate video for that purpose, and I'll provide the link of that video in the description. Before I start, I would like to request you, if you are new to our channel or haven't subscribed yet, then please subscribe to our channel and please click on the bell icon to get notification for any new topics. Our goal is to help everyone with premium content without any paid subscription, and your support will motivate us. To start with, we'll review the prerequisites for Amazon CloudWatch agent to work. The obvious thing, you have to install CloudWatch Unified Agent in your EC2 instance, or maybe if you want to configure that for a on-premise server, you have to install there. For today's video, we will use an Windows EC2 instance, but if you will follow these steps on an on-premise server, you will get the same result. Next, your EC2 instance should have the privilege to communicate with CloudWatch services, and for that, for EC2 instance, you need an IAM instance role. And if you are configuring for an on-premise server, there you need IAM access key and secret access key. Because instance role only works with EC2 instances and it will not work with any servers that is beyond or outside AWS Cloud. And the last part, security group of that EC2 instance should allow outbound connection such that CloudWatch agent will be able to communicate with the CloudWatch service in AWS Cloud. Next, we'll move to prerequisites for today's session. Since it will be a hands-on working session and I'll demonstrate everything on an AWS management console, and if you want to follow along with me, then you need an active AWS account and you should have at least one EC2 instance in running state. If you do not have an EC2 instance in running state, I request you to pause the video here. Please launch an EC2 instance and wait for the instance to come in running state, and then you can follow with me. Now let's review the high level steps what you are going to follow. Step 1, we'll create an IAM role for the EC2 instance, followed by we'll install CloudWatch agent using AWS Systems Manager or SSM. Step 3, we'll configure CloudWatch agent with all the required configurations. And step 4, we'll verify and validate all the custom metrics from Amazon CloudWatch console. For this entire step-by-step process, there is a AWS documentation. I have given this link and I'll give that link in the description below. In this documentation, it says everything, but what I found, it is really confusing. They have compiled everything for Windows, Linux, and all the operating systems with step-by-step process. But don't worry, I have simplified the process for you and I will tell you what is absolutely necessary for you, and you can skip this documentation and concentrate on the demonstration that I am going to give you. Let me go back to my PPT. Before I jump to our AWS Management Console, it's very important to understand how CloudWatch agent works. Let's assume this is your on-premise server or an EC2 instance. And all your applications, they are writing the log in a log folder or in a log directory called var/log/applog. And let's say this is AWS Cloud where we have the CloudWatch service. When you install CloudWatch agent will extract the log from the var/log/applog folder or the directory And then CloudWatch log will push those logs or information to CloudWatch service in AWS. And then CloudWatch will create required dashboards and the metrics. Now you have to understand one point. If your security group will not allow the outbound connection, then CloudWatch agent will not be able to communicate with CloudWatch service inside AWS. And that is why it's important to understand the security group outbound rule. If you are using a default security group, then you don't have to worry for that. But if you have a custom security group, I'd request you to review the outbound rule of that security group, and please make sure security group outbound rule will allow CloudWatch agent to communicate with CloudWatch service in AWS. Now let's go to AWS Management Console and create the IAM role there. I have logged into AWS Management Console and I am at console home. Under recently visited section, you will see all the services what you have recently used. If you haven't used EC2, then you can go to search bar and type EC2. And then please navigate to EC2 dashboard. As I mentioned that you need one EC2 instance in running state. I have already created that EC2 instance and it is in running state. This is a Windows EC2 instance. You can see under the platform, it is Windows. We are going to perform all the operations in this Windows EC2 instance. Now to create that IAM role, we'll navigate to IAM. To create the instance role, I'll go to roles and from there create role. Since I will use this role with an EC2 instance, from the services to choose, I'll select EC2. I'll go to next. I'll search CloudWatch. And from here, I'll select CloudWatch Agent Admin Policy and CloudWatch Agent Server Policy. Then I'll search Systems Manager or Amazon SSM and I'll select Amazon SSM Full Access, and the next would be Amazon SSM Manage Instance Core. For today's session, my purpose is to demonstrate the CloudWatch installation process. That's why I don't want to spend time on finding out what is the perfect role required or perfect privileges required. But my request is when you are going to create for your organizational use case, please use principle of least privileges and assign absolutely what is required for you. Please do not give admin privilege or admin permission for that role. Then I'll click next and I'll call the role as CES Cloud Expert Solution IAM, or maybe I'll use EC2 profile role. And then I'll go ahead and create the role. Now this role has been created for me. I'll go back to the EC2 instance. I'll select the EC2 instance. From the action drop down, security, I'll modify IAM role and I'll change the role to the newly created IAM role. Now the IAM role has been updated. Now if you select the EC2 instance, one last thing I would like to check. I'll go to security and from there I can see that IAM role is already assigned to this, and I'll go ahead and explore the security group. In security group, I have an inbound rule, and that is allowing the RDP from my IP address. I'll go to outbound rule, and my outbound rule is allowing all traffic in all ports. So I am good from the security group outbound rule point of view. Next, I'll navigate to Systems Manager, because in next step, I'm going to install the CloudWatch agent using Systems Manager. So this EC2 instance should be appear in Systems Manager console as a managed instance. My EC2 instance is not yet appeared here. Sometimes it takes 30 seconds to 1 minute, sometimes little bit more than that. I'll wait for the EC2 instance to be appeared in the Systems Manager console. I'll pause the video here and I'll come back when the EC2 instance will be appeared in the Systems Manager console or the Systems Manager Fleet Manager console. I'm back. It took more than a minute for the EC2 instance to appear in the Fleet Manager dashboard. Now, since we have the EC2 instance in a Fleet Manager, we'll be able to control or we'll be able to install softwares inside that EC2 instance using Systems Manager. Now from here, we'll transition to part 2 of that video or step 2. To install CloudWatch agent in this EC2 instance, I'll expand that left hand side panel and from here, I'll go to run command. I'll run a command. Under command document search bar, I'll type AWS-ConfigureAWSPackage. I'll give this document name in the video description such that you will be able to copy and paste without doing any spelling mistake. Then I'll press enter. The documentation came. Under action list, I'll select install and then installation type uninstall and reinstall, because if already CloudWatch agent is installed there, I am going to uninstall and then reinstall. Under name, I'll give Amazon CloudWatch agent. You can give whatever the name you want. In version, I'll provide latest. Additional argument, I'll not specify anything. Under target selection, you can either choose manually or you can use tags. If you have more than one instances, then you can give a particular tag and you can select all the instances at a go using that tag. But since I am using only one instance, I'll go with manual selection. That's why I'll choose instances manually. And from the instance drop down, I'll select the only instance I have where I'm going to install the CloudWatch agent. And then I don't have to configure anything, rate control and all, because I have only one instance. If you have more than one instance, then you can go rate control. Maybe you can install only 50% of the instances, or if you want 100%, or if you want all the instances at a go, you can configure that rate control accordingly. I'll not update anything and I'll click run. Overall status is in progress. That means now Systems Manager is trying to install CloudWatch agent in that instance. That's why status is in progress. I'll pause the video here and I'll wait for the installation process to be completed. It took less than 30 seconds. Now CloudWatch agent has been installed successfully to the EC2 instance. You can see the status is success and the overall status is also success. Our next step would be we will log into the EC2 instance and we will validate if CloudWatch agent has been successfully installed or not. If installed successfully, then we will configure the agent to send logs and custom metrics from the EC2 instance to the CloudWatch service in AWS Cloud. I am using a MacBook. That is why I will use the default Microsoft Remote Desktop tool. You can use whatever the tool you are using or your existing tool. Now I'll try to connect that EC2 instance. It may take 1 or 2 minutes for the EC2 instance to be ready. I'll pause the video here and I'll come back once the EC2 instance is ready, and it will allow us to do the further steps. Okay, my EC2 instance seems ready. I'll click yes. I'll open the file explorer. From there, I'll go to program file. It should be under C drive. Under that, we can see Amazon and then Amazon CloudWatch agent. That means Systems Manager has successfully installed CloudWatch agent for us. Now the next step is we have to configure the CloudWatch agent. To configure CloudWatch agent, now we'll open the command prompt. Here you go. I'll run as an administrator. Now I'll navigate to this path. I'll directly copy this path and I'll do a change directory here. And then I'll write Amazon CloudWatch agent config wizard.exe and I'll enter. I'll make it a full screen. And now it is asking what is the operating system I'm planning to use. This is a Windows operating system. That is why I'll go with the default choice 2. I'll press and enter. Trying to fetch the default region based on the EC2 metadata. I'll select yes, because this is a EC2 instance. It's not an on-premise. Again, I'll go with the default choice. Next, it is asking, do you want to turn on stash daemon? If you want to get custom matrix, you need stash daemon. If you don't want to get custom matrix, then you don't need. I'll go with the default option because I'll be able to configure the custom matrix. Which port do you want to listen to? I'll go with the default port. What is the collection interval for the stash D? I'll go with the default option 10 seconds. What is the aggregation interval? Again, I'll go with the default option 60 seconds because I really don't want to get anything in the lesser frequency because this is just a test. I do not have a production server, but please configure as you want. Now it is asking, do you have an existing CloudWatch log agent configuration file to import or migration? I really don't have. That is why I'll go with 2, default option. Do you want to monitor any host metrics like CPU, memory? Why not? I'll give with option 1. Now it is asking, do you want to monitor CPU metrics per core? I'll go with yes, default option. Do you want to add EC2 dimensions, right? Image ID, instance type, auto scaling group. In this case, I'll select no because I really don't want those. But if you want, you can select, or maybe I'll go with default option 1. Do you want to aggregate EC2 dimensions? Why not? Yes. Would you like to collect your matrix at high resolution? If you want to go ahead and select 10 seconds or 30 seconds, please go ahead. I'm fine with 60 seconds. Now, which default metric config do you want? Do you want basic? Do you want standard? Do you want advanced? Or do you want none? I'll go with the standard one. Although the default one is basic, I'll go with the standard metrics. And then based on all my inputs, it is created the configuration file in a JSON document. And it is saying, this is the current configuration. Now you can review all those configurations here. If you are satisfied with this configuration, you can press 1. If you think that you need to modify something, you can press 2. I'll go with the default because I am satisfied with that. Next, it is asking, do you want to monitor any customized log files? If you want to monitor any customized log file, as I was showing in the direction, if you have any log file location where you want to monitor, you can select yes. But as of now, I really do not have any I do not have any application that is running in the EC2 instance. That is why I do not have a custom log file location. But for this demonstration, what I am going to do, I am going to select 1. Now you have to give the log file path. Then I'll give var log app.log. Now this is default choice, app.log. Default choice is instance ID. I'll go ahead with that. What is the log retention days? Maybe I'll select 5. That means I want to retain for 7 days. Based on your requirement, you can choose how many days you want. Do you want to specify any additional log files to monitor? This time I'll select no because I don't have anything else. Do you want to monitor any Windows event log? If you want to enable system event log for Windows, then please select yes, or else please select no. I do not want to monitor any Windows event log. That is why I want to go with option 2. Now, do you want the CloudWatch agent also to retrieve X-ray traces? I really do not have X-ray daemon installed here. That is why I'll go ahead and select 2. But if you have X-ray daemon also installed and if you want to trace with X-ray, then you can go ahead and select 1. But I'll go ahead and select 2. Next step, it is asking, do you want to store the config file in a SSM parameter store? I would say yes. Why not? I would like to store this configuration file in a SSM parameter store. I'll select 1. Next, it is asking, what parameter store name do you want to use to store that config? Use Amazon CloudWatch prefix if you use or manage AWS policies. Now default choice it is giving Amazon CloudWatch Windows. If you are happy with that config file name, then you can go ahead and select that. Or if you want any customized option, then in that case you can write Amazon CloudWatch dash and then instead of Windows, whatever the custom name you want. I'm happy with Amazon CloudWatch Windows. That is why I'll go with the default option. Next it is saying trying to fetch the default region based on the EC2 metadata. And the default choice is US East 1. Yes, I am in Northern Virginia. That is why my default region is US East 1. For you, it will be the region where you are or the region that is close to your current location. I'll go ahead and select with the default option. Now, which AWS credential should be used to send the JSON config file to parameter stores? I'll go with the default option. Now it is saying successfully put config to parameter store. Press enter to exit. With this, I have successfully configured Amazon CloudWatch agent for an Windows EC2 instance. To verify everything, I'll go back to my AWS management console and again I'll go back to SSM or Systems Manager parameter store. Back to my Systems Manager dashboard, I have created that configuration file and I have stored in parameter store. Now from Systems Manager left hand side panel, I'll go to parameter store. Parameter store under application management, I'll click parameter store and here you go. I can see tier is standard tier and here I have the configuration file. Now I'll start the CloudWatch agent using Systems Manager. From the left hand side panel, again I'll go to run command under node management. I'll click run command. Now under command document, this time I'll use Amazon CloudWatch manage agent. Here you go. Now I'll select from the action, I'll put configure. My mode is EC2 and operational configuration SSM. I'll go with all those default configuration. Under optional configuration location, I have to provide the name of the configuration file. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open the parameter store in a new tab and I'll copy this parameter name and I'll provide the name. Now optional restart, I'll choose yes. Again target selection, I'll choose my target manually and then I'll click run. I'll wait for the process to be completed. The process has been completed successfully. That means CloudWatch agent has been started successfully in my EC2 instance. Now again, I'll go back to the EC2 windows. I'll open PowerShell. And from the PowerShell, I'll check if the CloudWatch agent is running. So for that, I'll do get service name and the name is Amazon CloudWatch agent. You can see the status is saying running. That means the CloudWatch agent is successfully running in this EC2 instance. To validate if CloudWatch agent is collecting metrics data from this EC2 instance and sending to Amazon CloudWatch or not, I'll go back to AWS Management Console and I'll go to CloudWatch dashboard. From the left-hand panel under metrics, I'll select all matrices. Here you go. CloudWatch agent with 14. Now I'll click on the CloudWatch agent. Now these are all the metrics that is specific to the CloudWatch agent that CloudWatch agent is generating for us. That with image ID, instance type, it has 6 metrics for us. If I'll go inside that instance ID matrices, we'll be able to see. So these are the matrices. So we have successfully configured CloudWatch metrics for our EC2 instance. It is successfully collecting all the metrics data from the EC2 instance and sending it to CloudWatch service. And now you can play around, you can fine tune whatever the metrics you want. This was all for today's session. Before we go, I would like to summarize what we have seen today. We have started with creating an EC2 instance role. Then we have listed that EC2 instance as a SSM managed instance. Using SSM, we have installed the CloudWatch agent. The alternate option is you can log into the EC2 instance, you can download that agent and you can manually install. For our demonstration, we had only one EC2 instance. That is why manually configuration versus the systems manager may not be that much difference or may not be that much advantage for you. But consider when you have an organizational use case where you have 100 EC2 instances, then manually installing one by one is challenging. That is why you can select all the 100 EC2 instance and install CloudWatch agent at a go. And that is the beauty of SSM run command. We have installed CloudWatch agent using run command. Then we have configured the CloudWatch agent, and at the end we have verified that CloudWatch agent is collecting those metrics from the EC2 instance and propagating all the detail to CloudWatch, and CloudWatch is displaying all those metrics. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time and hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you won't miss out any of our future content. If you enjoyed what you saw, give us a thumbs up and share this video with your friends and family. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comment below. Take care and remember to keep exploring.